History of the Jews of Rhodes from 300 BCE until 1938. This is a view of the sea from the Jewish quarter on Rhodes. The name of the island comes from the Greek word rhodon, which means rose. We can assume that there were many roses on the island when it was first discovered. However, it's possible that the name is also derived from the Phoenician word erod. Erod means snake, and when the Phoenicians were living on Rhodes in ancient times, there were many snakes on Rhodes. Even today, Rhodes has many reptiles and amphibians and at least 10 types of non-venomous snakes and at least one venomous snake. Dozens of lizards, tortoises, turtles, frogs, and toads live on Rhodes today. Farmers on Rhodes today wear very thick leather boots for protection from the only remaining venomous snake on Rhodes, which is called the Turkish viper, also called the Ottoman viper. Of the languages on this list, Hebrew is the oldest, so we'll consider it first. In Hebrew, we say Rhodos for the island of Rhodes. In Ladino, we call it Rhodis or Rhodi. English, of course, is Rhodes, and Greek is also Rhodos. The earliest references of Rhodes are from the Torah. In the second parsha of the Torah, in Genesis chapter 10, when the sons of Noah are described, and their sons, it says in Genesis, "And these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and sons were born to them after the flood, according to their families in their nations. Japheth had 7 sons. One of them was called Yavan. Yavan had sons, and one of them was called Rodanim." It then goes on to say, "From these the islands of the nations separated in their lands, each one to his language, according to their families in their nations." So Japheth's son, Yavan, settled Greece, and today the Hebrew word for Greece is Yavan. And Yavan's son, Dodanim, or Rodanim, settled in Rhodes. We don't know for sure that Yavan's son, Dodanim, was not named Rodanim, because in Hebrew, a resh and a daled look very similar, and it's possible after the Torah had been copied again and again and again and again that there may have been a mistake made with the resh and the daled. Today, some of the oldest copies of the Torah and the Tanakh have a resh and some of them have a daled. So it's very unclear today if it's supposed to be Rodanim or Dodanim. The earliest recorded description of Jews in Europe is actually from Rhodes, sometime between 300 to 250 BCE. And the earliest known Jews in Greece lived in Alexandria. Sometime around 332 BCE are the earliest records that we have of this. This painting from Byzantine times that show the Jewish community and rabbis in Alexandria giving Alexander the Great various gifts. Alexandria was divided into 5 quarters by the Greek government, and one whole quarter was given to the Jews. It was called the Delta Quarter. And the reason why the Greek government gave the Jews their own quarter is so that they could live and not be influenced by the pagan peoples around them. So they had their own quarter to shelter them from the pagan influences around them. This synagogue is called the Eliyahu Hanavi Synagogue, Elijah the Prophet Synagogue, and has existed since 1354. This synagogue in Alexandria is one of only 2 synagogues, and it was just renovated several months ago. The Jews of Rhodes are actually described in the book of the Maccabees, which was around 142 BCE. And of course, this is the book that describes the Maccabean revolt, which gave us Hanukkah. The Jews of Rhodes are next described in texts that are written around 75 to 90 AD. The next reference to Jews living in Rhodes is from Benjamin of Tudela, who was a Spanish rabbi traveling in 1116, and his records say that he saw 400 to 500 Jews living on Rhodes. Over 900 years later, his books are still being published and sold. A street was even named after him in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem. In the year 1280, many Jews left Aragon, Spain, and migrated to Rhodes. In 1467, an Italian rabbi traveler visited many places also and went to Rhodes. He wrote in his letter, the letter of which is still preserved in Florence, Italy, "I have never encountered a Jewish community in which everyone, from the eldest to the youngest, is so intelligent. They have long hair and look like princes." He continued in his letter, "The Knights of Hospitallers," which was the military of Rhodes back then, "visit the Jewish homes regularly in order to admire the beautiful embroideries." In 1481 and in 1482, there were big earthquakes that destroyed many of the buildings in the Jewish quarter. On March 31st, 1492, Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand released the Alhambra Decree, which said that all Jews must leave Spain by July 31st. They were given 4 months to sell their belongings, pack their things, and leave. The conditions were terrible. They could not leave with gold or silver, which means that they had to change their money before they left for whichever country they were heading for. And the banks gave the Jews ridiculous exchange rates. Most of the Jews sold their houses and their belongings for ridiculous amounts of money, sometimes trading a house for a donkey. They were also given the choice to convert to Catholicism and be baptized. Many of the rabbis chose to convert, and many of the wealthy Jews chose to convert. The less wealthy Jews chose to leave Spain. Leaving Spain was not as you probably have pictured. These paintings depict an idyllic, peaceful exiting of Spain and migrating to other countries. The truth is, from the time the Jews left their houses until the time they arrived at the ports and the beaches to take ships that would take them to their countries of their choice, they prayed and sang for a miracle because they already knew what would happen. Most of them got on the ships. They were immediately robbed of their possessions. Many were raped, beaten, killed. And this was after they paid ridiculous rates for the passage on the ship from Spain to wherever their destination was. The ancestors of many Jews from Rhodes came from Spain. They migrated to the Ottoman Empire, to Turkey. Rhodes was not a favorable destination in 1492 for Jews because it was ruled by Christians. Most of the Jews on Rhodes at that time had been taken there by Christians as slaves. Remember when you learned about Columbus in school? What's rarely talked about is that Columbus left Spain during the same days that all the Jews were leaving Spain. The date for the Jews was extended by 10 days, so they had until August 10th, and Columbus left Spain on August 3rd. which was also the 10th of Av, the day after Tisha B'Av. Many people think Columbus was Jewish, and that he was also finding a way to make a new world, find a new place for himself and for his people. In 1522, the Ottoman Empire battled the Christians for control of Rhodes. The Jews of Rhodes joined the Turks, the Ottomans, and fought against the Christians who were controlling Rhodes at the time. The Ottomans, who the Jews had fought next to, won the battle and assumed control of Rhodes from 1522. From 1522 until 1570, many Jews came to Rhodes from Spain, Portugal, and the nearby islands. So from 1522 until approximately the early to mid 1800s, this was a very good time for Jews in Rhodes. In fact, Rhodes soon became known to be called Little Jerusalem, with its thriving Jewish community from the 1500s onward. In 1577, 2 synagogues were completed on Rhodes. One of them was called the Kahal Grande. Later it was renamed the Kahal Kodesh Gadol, the Big Holy Synagogue. And the other synagogue was the Kahal Shalom Synagogue. Both of these synagogues survived over the next 350 years, until Allied bombing raids in World War II destroyed the Kahal Grande, the Kahal Kodesh Gadol. The Kahal Shalom Synagogue still exists to this day on Rhodes. It is the largest synagogue in Greece today. From the 1600s onwards, there were many famous Jews from Rhodes that were rabbis, poets, and writers. In 1869, Aaron Franco, a Jew on Rhodes, whose full name was Aharon Rahamim Franco, was appointed by Emperor Franz Joseph as the Austro-Hungarian consul in Rhodes. A Jew from Rhodes, Behor Alhadeff, founded a bank in 1819, and this bank did quite well and later became known as Solomon Alhadeff and Sons. The bank became important and powerful throughout the Levant. The Levant refers to the area you see here on this map. Alhadeff then used his influence and contacts throughout the Levant to establish clothing factories and other types of business enterprises. This is actually a photo of one of his department stores on Rhodes, the biggest department store on Rhodes, which was connected in the middle. There were 2 shops, one in each building on both sides of a street, and what you can see in the picture is the connecting part of both sides of the shop. So people could walk from the shop on the right side of the street right across to the part of the department store on the left side of the street. The Jewish population on Rhodes reached its peak during the 1800s. The population was somewhere between 2,000 to 4,000 Jews. There are many different reports of how many Jews were on the island during the 1800s, so the exact amount is not clear. From 1865, 2 more synagogues were built on Rhodes. One was called Kahal Kamando, and the other one was called Kahal Tikkun Chatzot. Tikkun Chatzot is a collection of prayers that many men read at midnight. The economic conditions for most Jews on Rhodes deteriorated from the mid-1800s until the 1930s. While some Jews became wealthy as bankers or merchants, most of the Jews on Rhodes did not. So in the later 1800s, many Jews from Rhodes began immigrating to the Belgian Congo and to the country of Rhodesia in Africa, looking to become wealthy The poor economic conditions on Rhodes may have been a result of the Industrial Revolution, because Rhodes was not a big city with big industries, and many of the products that were made on Rhodes before the Industrial Revolution, which sold quite well, now were probably overpriced compared to garments and other products that were made more efficiently in factories in the big cities. Whatever the ultimate cause, many Jews on Rhodes started to leave Rhodes from the mid-1800s. A very, very famous rabbi in the world was born on Rhodes. Rabbi Chaim Rahamim Yosef Franco was born in 1835. He was often known by his nickname, which is usually the abbreviation of his name, Chaim Rahamim Yosef Franco, the Harif. So he was often known as the Harif. Interestingly, the Hebrew word Harif means spicy. Rabbi Franco is very famous and very well known in Israel because he founded a very famous institution in Israel. As a boy of 16 years old, Rabbi Franco went to Europe to collect donations for helping the Jewish community in Rhodes after a terrible earthquake in 1851. He returned to Rhodes and then moved to Jerusalem. Rabbi Franco eventually settled in Hebron, and over his life he wrote 3 very well-known literature works, 2 manuscripts and 1 book. When he went to live in Jerusalem in 1868 with his wife, Esther Mazel Tov, and their 3 children, one thing that Rabbi Franco dealt with was the loss of a big courtyard in the Jewish quarter of the old city of Jerusalem. The Jews in the old city were forced to sell the land, but Rabbi Franco was successful in getting the courtyard returned to the Jews and to the Jewish quarter. But what Rabbi Franco is known best for is his establishment of a very well-known and historical institution that still functions today. In 1878, he was appointed to be the chief rabbi of the Sephardic community in Hebron, and 15 years later he established what was called then Chesed LaAvraham, which was a hospital. Chesed LaAvraham means Abraham's kindness, Abraham's kindness. And of course, Hebron is a city in which Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, and Leah are all buried. After more than 375 years of rule under the Ottoman Empire, Rhodes came to be ruled by Italy in 1912. At this time, the highest population of Rhodes was recorded with 4,500 Jews on the island. The Italians used Rhodes as their central position for governing all of their possessions in the Levant. Many Italian Jews came to settle on Rhodes from the Italian mainland. Because of its excellent geographical location to other Italian holdings in the Levant and also to Europe, in December 1928, the governor of Rhodes established the Collegio Rabbinico, a rabbinical college on Rhodes. The rabbinical college remained a great source of pride for the next 10 years for the Jews of Rhodes. International students came from Europe and all over the Middle East to study at the rabbinical college. Mussolini was a leader of Italy then, and he personally got involved in the project to make sure that extra money went towards the development and building of the college. He was interested in spreading Italian culture among the new citizens of Italy in Italy's new holdings. This photo was taken in 1934 of one of the younger classes at the rabbinical college. The only individual whose name is known for sure is Moshe Israel, in the back row, the third from the right. This is a photo taken in 1935 of a choral concert at the Rabbinical College in Rhodes. During this time, the director was Rabbi Pacifici. At the bottom of the photograph, we can see where it was handwritten Concerto Vocale Strumentale. And the date is April 4th, 1935, on Rhodes, in Italian called Rodi. This is a picture of some of the Rabbinical College students wearing their uniforms. And on the left, there is another individual. This photo was taken in 1937. If we look at the bottom of the photo, you see it says Rodi 1937. The only individual known in this photo is Chaim Menashe, who is right in the center of the photograph. And this is a photo in front of the main entrance of the Rabbinical College with the rabbi of the college in the front, Riccardo Pacifici, the one who's the director of the college in the previous photograph. And this was taken in 1934. Now this photo was taken in 1933. The man in the center going up the steps is Mario Lago. He was the governor of Rhodes in 1933. And he is the one who originally had the idea to start the Rabbinical College on Rhodes, 5 years prior to this picture being taken. In this photo, he's visiting the Rabbinical College. The man on the left, the bald man, is Joe Menashe, who was on the committee of the Rabbinical College. And in this, what is most likely a staged photograph, the students of the college are giving Mario Lago, the governor of Rhodes, a fascist salute as he arrives to the college. This photo was taken around 1933, and these are more students of the Rabbinical College. This is a picture of the first rosh yeshiva. The rosh yeshiva of a yeshiva is the director and usually professor in the yeshiva. His name was Rabbi Isidore Kahan. When the Rabbinical College opened its doors, it had about 25 to 30 students who came from Syria, Lebanon, Bulgaria, Cairo, and Ethiopia, as well as Rhodes. Besides rabbinical studies, the students at the Rabbinical College also studied secular subjects from Italian professors on the campus. The last grand rabbi of Rhodes was Reuven Eliyahu Israel. His family, the Israel family, had maintained a rabbinical dynasty on Rhodes ever since 1714. This certificate shows the bestowing of rabbinic ordination upon Rabbi Isidore Kahan in 1932. Kahan remained the Rosh Yeshiva until 1933, about 4 or 5 years later. And in 1939, Rabbi Kahan and his family fled to the United States due to growing fascism and racist laws being passed by the Italian government against Jews. Rabbi Kahan went to Seattle. He and his family first went to New York and then were invited to come to live in Seattle. Rabbi Kahan went on to be the rabbi of Ezra Besaroth in Seattle until 1959. In the summer of 1938, the population of the Jews of Rhodes was still around 4,000 people. However, about half the population left after September 1938 due to the anti-Semitic laws passed by the Italian government at that time. Besides Rhodesia and the Congo, other Jews left for Zimbabwe, the United States, South America, other countries in Africa, and also Israel.